Welcome back to Maker's Journey Workshop. I'm Benjamin Davies, and today we're talking about buying your first hydraulic press or buying your first power hammer and what's right for you based off of the type of forging you do and your environment. These things are all important, and there's no reason in this day and age that you can't have some power forging equipment no matter where you are. Let's get into it. The first thing I would recommend, no matter who or where you are and what type of forging you're doing, is buy something brand new. And be sure that you choose an established manufacturer company whose customer service is just as great as their product. Because when things break, you want to know that you can get them on the phone. You want to know that they're somewhat local, maybe even the same continent as you. I wouldn't want to be down for weeks at a time waiting for products to come from across seas. They might make a better product, but if I don't have direct accessibility to it, really doesn't appeal to me. Now, before you start running off with the comments to beat me up, talking about how great some of the older machines are, like the Little Giants, the Nazels, and some of the other brands that I can't even, Chambersburg, I'm not saying those aren't great machines. I'm just saying they're 50 to 100 years old, and unless you're a machinist or you just enjoy restoring those things, I would stay away from it if I'm looking at getting into a business or starting to take my hobby seriously to where I can plug and play today, not spend my Saturdays and Sundays trying to troubleshoot for months at a time just to get to a point to where I can bang on some stuff and draw out some metal. I don't want any more projects in my life at this point. I want to be able to buy a tool and put it straight to work. That's my perspective. If you're into the restoration of those tools, great, go buy one of those. Highly encourage you. If you're looking at this from a business standpoint and you want to get after it tomorrow, plug and play is the way to go with great businesses. And I'm going to mention a few of those here today. All right, so there's three types of smiths that I'm going to address today in two different locations. And I'm going to give you my best advice of what I think I would do if I had to start all over again on buying these machines. First off, let's go from a city standpoint. Maybe you're living in an HOA community. That means these guys are out of the picture, but that's okay. And let me tell you why. Then a hydraulic press is going to be the way to go. Not this hydraulic press. Coal Iron, who has been on the scene for about a decade now, has really taken their presses extremely seriously. And I'm not at all sponsored, nor have I ever used a Coal Iron. I've just followed with the tremendous success they've had online, and I've got friends that use their machines too and just say they are awesome. One of the biggest things I love about Coal Iron is a few years ago, they put an introductory hydraulic press out that you can put on the table. Let's dive into their presses and I'll tell you a little bit more about them and why they're going to be great for you if you're a weekend warrior working out of your garage trying to get to a point to where you can buy some shop space and be as loud as you want. The thing that I really like about Coal Iron is they have the weekend warrior, the side hustler in mind with this 12-ton press right here. Yep, that thing doesn't weigh that much at all. I think just a few hundred pounds, and that's something you can lift up and put on a workbench or make a base for, and it comes with a power kit, and it starts out pretty inexpensive. You can use the lever, or you can use this right here. Yep, the foot treadle. Now I'm just used to a foot treadle. I've always used it. I love having both hands to work. If money's not really an option, you can build these things with more tonnage. Now 12 tons is going to be incredible to start out with if you're transitioning from banging with a hammer every day to that's something that you can use all day. Something else I want to mention, and which is pretty cool and hasn't really been available until recently, they've added computer assistance to it, meaning that you can set the depth on your stroke and the speed to an extent on your stroke. And so you can just put your metal under there and it'll just chew up at a steady pace. That's going to be incredible, and it's going to be close to giving you kind of that power hammer effect without the noise. So if you've ever been around hydraulic presses, you know that they're not completely noiseless. They do have some whining and some things to them as it's pumping that hydraulic fluid. But I don't think it's going to be any noisier than somebody mowing their lawn or having the leaf blower out or cleaning the car out with a shop vac on the weekend. So I think it is community and neighborhood approved, and definitely the way I would go if I was living in one of those neighborhoods. Go check them out. They've got everything from affordable entry-level presses to strong double C-frame presses that can really mash some material. And so after all that, I'm sure you're thinking, well, Ben, why are you promoting Coal Iron if you've got this massive, gigantic press in your shop? That press isn't going to be realistic for most shops, especially if you're working in a garage. This thing weighs about 10 to 12,000 pounds, and it's a 75-ton press. Not to mention, I bought it blindly. I didn't even know if it worked. If it worked, great. If not, I was gonna have one heck of a time scrapping it or finding somebody to come work on it. I was at a point in my career where I was starting to build up my tools and buying the things like the plasma table and the extra hammer and things that I wanted to have in my shop. Speed is also not important to me when it comes to this. This is an old school straightening press, and it's meant for straightening big beams, I-beams, and things like that, and coming at it from the side. But it does do some brilliant smushy, and that's what I bought it for. So that's why I'm promoting this, because this is something that I've had to work on, and it sat in my shop for 2 or 3 years before I finally got it to a point to where it worked right. And I had to do some creative engineering myself down here on this foot treadle to be able to get it to work right. But hydraulic press, that's pretty much going to be the way to go if you have neighbors that are pretty close by and you have some noise ordinances you want to adhere to. Like I said, it's not going to be much lighter than a shop vac, and I don't see that being any inconvenience to even your busybodiest of neighbors. If you're a weekend warrior starting out, hydraulic press. And the thing that's great about those, that I'll reiterate, is they start pretty light. And 12 tons, that's 24,000 pounds of mushing pressure if you're starting at the bottom rung, which is a huge step up from banging with a hammer all weekend. Not a bad way to go. Do me a favor, if you're enjoying this video or any of our videos, smash that subscribe button. Yeah, that guy'd really appreciate it. He gets grumpy when you don't subscribe. So be sure to smash that subscribe button, and we'll get back to the video. All right, in this next part of the video, I'm gonna talk about 3 different types of blacksmiths and what machine I would buy first if I were either one of those blacksmiths starting out today and noise was not an option. But before I do, I'd just like to reiterate this point if you didn't get it from the first part of our video. Bigger's not always better. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to have a 200-300 pound power hammer, but I don't really have a use for it for the things that I'm doing in my shop. It sounds great, they sound like a lot of fun, but if that's not the scale and the size of work that you're currently doing that you are going to be able to produce, it's just overkill. Plus, it'll really blow your budget. So when I think of things like that, I think of if I was going to spend 30 grand, 40 grand on one of those massive power hammers, Anyang makes some big, beautiful power hammers like that. And then the cost it's going to be to make sure you have 3-phase or 3-phase converter and all that setup. Could I better spend that money on 5 to 10 different tools that would better help me as a one-man shop? I mean, 40 grand would be tremendous to buy a couple small tire power hammers, a press, a nice belt grinder or 2, and really be able to set up an assembly line in your shop to where you can optimize your heat and your time and the fluidity of your shop, Henry Ford style. Here are the 3 smiths that I'm going to address and what machine I would buy first if I was starting out tomorrow and noise was an option. Didn't have to worry about bothering my neighbors. We're going to go with ornamental, fire tools and fire grates, things like that. In utilitarian, that's primarily what I do. Second, we're going to go with knife maker. And third, we're going to go with tool maker. Let's start with ornamental and utilitarian. That's what I do. When I say utilitarian, I mean things like hand tools, like fire pokers, like grill tools, those type of things. They're still ornamental, but they also have purpose and a use. Which brings me up to what I'd buy first. A power hammer, all day, every day. For me, that is the first thing that I would buy again. It's what I'm most comfortable with, so I might be a little bit biased, and it's able to do so many things from drawing out material to punching and using top tools. I just love it. It is quite the industrious machine. Hey, wait! I know it's a utility hammer. They call it an accessory hammer because it's fed from compressors. I just generically call it a power hammer because it's doing the same thing that an Anyang or a trip hammer does, which is like a little giant. Bam, bam, quick, draw out the steel. We're gonna call them power hammers. Now, when I say power hammers, it doesn't mean you have to buy the big blues. I prefer them, I like them. They're about an hour down the road from me, and anytime I've had any customer service questions, I've been treated great as a customer, which is what I talked about earlier in the video. However, going back to bigger isn't always better, these are both 110 pound power hammers. Their 155 moves a lot slower, so it's a slug compared to these. Something that's really important when forging underneath the power hammer is you want snappy and you want speed, especially when you're working smaller materials, because it's going to help to keep and grow your heat and allow you to work a little bit longer. But with these, you have to have an air compressor and then access to 220, and that presents all kinds of problems. This guy was about $6,500 when I bought it back in 2016, and I think this one was closer to about $11,000 when I bought it in 2023. So they get expensive pretty quick. But another great option that I would buy all day, every day if I had to buy a power hammer tomorrow, and it's something I kind of would like to have in the shop also, one of these guys right here. Yep, the tire hammer. They're awesome. At the school I first learned at, Haywood Community College, 15, 16, 17 years ago, they had one of those in there also, and they are great, especially because of their speed. Even though they're lighter, most of them hanging around a 55 to 75 pound ram, they are so peppy and quick, and a lot of times they run off a 110 motor. So from a budget standpoint, if you're starting out and you really, stretching your budget to buy some of these things, one, you don't have to have a compressor. Two, you don't have to convert to 220. And three, you can build your own dies and everything in the shop if you have a welder, a little bit of know-how and some metallurgy to be able to shape some things. So welder, grinder, and you're off to the races. They're peppy, they're quick. Just a recap of why I would buy a power hammer first all day, every day, if I had to start over again tomorrow. They're able to draw out material quite quickly. I can texture with them, I can punch with them, I can use top tools with them. The capabilities are pretty endless of cradles and dies and things that you can do to customize your work, and their speed is just amazing, which helps to keep your metal nice and warm when you're working some smaller pieces. It's great, and I just really enjoy them. I think they're all around good tool that you can do some things on quickly that the hydraulic press doesn't exactly provide the same level of speed and things for. All right, so you want to be a knife maker. What's going to be the best tool for you? I should preface by saying I'm not a knife maker. I made a few knives in my life. They are very tedious, and it is a lot of work outside of the forging process to be able to make a good knife. The knife makers that do it well, they're truly artists, and no matter what they're selling their knives for, they're extremely undervalued for the amount of time and skill that goes into execute one of those knives with perfection. It is one of the most frustrating things I've ever seen to watch a skilled knife maker try to sell his knives, maybe at a crafts festival where people have no understanding or appreciation, and they're comparing it to the $30 and $50 Bucks and Gerbers they see at Walmart. Those guys are really skilled, and just the level and attention to detail is second to none. Hats off to you guys. So if I'm a knife maker, and especially if I'm just starting out, I would be looking at a hydraulic press. I know a lot of knife makers love making Damascus billets. That's always been a hard concept for me to wrap my head around, especially from a beginner standpoint, because the amount of time you have to spend just to build a billet before you ever start to turn that thing into a knife is crazy. But I get it. Like I said, they're artisans. They're true craftsmen. But with Coal Iron Works and their presses, especially with that CNC capability, you can almost use it like a slower power hammer to where you can draw out your Damascus billets and get good, clean welds over a large billet. So if I'm starting out as a knife maker tomorrow, I'm probably getting one of those smaller presses to help me shape my blades, because I know even a lot of the knife makers that still have those nice tools are doing a lot of their shaping and offsets at the anvil still. And I would even look at folks and maybe spending some of my resources into cutouts, high carbon cutouts, and going that way. I know a lot of knife makers out there that are making a full-time good living off of making kitchen cutlery and nice knives from those blanks. There's all different types of ways to get there. And if you're making a good quality knife at the end of the day, how you made it's really not near as important as the outcome. If it's a great quality knife, it doesn't matter if it ever saw a hammer or not. Lastly, if I'm a tool maker, I'm somebody that's going to be punching a lot of eyes for hammers and axes and war axes and all those kind of fun things. I'm 100% buying a hydraulic press, because it's going to be brilliant for you fullering, it's going to be brilliant for you punching, it's going to be brilliant for you spreading the eyes on those things. I can't think of how a power hammer would be better. The power hammers are snappy, they're great, but when it comes to moving material in that manner, if you have the right dies and the right tool setup, hydraulic press, man, it just really flies, and it makes simple and accurate work of what you're doing, because a lot of those fullering lines you want to be accurate and precise, and some of the best to do it, they'll do a lot of that work on the press. You can of course do all of this work on the power hammer, but in my experience, anytime that I've built hammers or anything like that, I've had a much more enjoyable and better outcome from working on the hydraulic press. I really hope you enjoyed this video today. I hope it's helpful if this is on your mind. We've been forging here at Maker's Journey Workshop on this channel for about 2 years now, and I believe that's a good starting point to consider what kind of power forging tool that you're going to buy if you're serious about forging. If you're not there yet, if you don't have the budget, don't feel bad. It was 6 years of forging before I ever bought my first power hammer, and we were doing shows and everything too. And so that's why I've tried to bring a bunch of creativity to you over the past 2 years. But we are going to start doing some projects with these power hammers, with the hydraulic press, and we'll be sure not to leave you behind if you're not there yet, and working some projects that you can do by hand, which include a series we just began last week on lamp building. Last week we cut out this right here. This is a fun shape that I saw in some stained glass at our sanctuary at church that I took and used AI. You can check out the video right here. Now I realize that might not be realistic if you're just starting out to go out and spend hours doing this by hand, because we did this on the CNC plasma table. But shapes like this, minus the little square in the middle, are going to be easy for you to cut out with an angle grinder out of some thicker plate steel. And next week, I'm going to show you a few different options of how you can make base plates for lamp stands, for fireplace stands. This is all applicable whenever you're needing a base for something. It's something that often gets overlooked and it's easy to leave out, but you can do a few simple things that really tie in the look and make it a nice piece. So join us over the next several weeks as we get into lamp building. Lamp building is pretty cool because these are high ticket items you can sell and showcase whenever you're doing a craft or arts festival that really display your talent whenever you start going after larger work. When they see these larger ornate pieces sitting in your booth, people are going to consider you for the larger ornate pieces at their home. Until next time, I'm Benjamin Davies. This is Maker's Journey Workshop, and thanks for being here. See y'all.